Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Brandon Shank, and welcome to the Brandon Shank Podcast. What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast. As always, with me, we got Corey over here.
What's up?
In the corner.
Always.
Well, hey, welcome. Beautiful day here in March. March Madness is upon us.
It is.
How'd your bracket go? Did you fill one out?
I didn't.
Yeah,
no, I know you made me do one last year, but
I didn't fill one out either.
Okay,
yeah,
that's good.
my Rylan filled one out, and we were cheering for his teams all weekend.
Nice.
I was really hoping Oakland was going to pull it out.
Yeah.
Beat NC State, but they just didn't make it happen. NC State has a center. He's a massive human.
Yeah.
He's fun to watch.
Gotcha. Was Oakland the team though with that like kind of no-name guy that just shot
D2.
the threes?
Came out of D2.
Yeah, man. Mm-hmm. Crazy. I watched the clips of that. I didn't get to see the game.
Once they beat Kentucky, there was this thing online. Everybody was like, well, these Kentucky players are going to the NBA, and he's going to be selling insurance. And he just beat them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So who wins it, man? Who do you got?
I have no clue. I haven't watched any. I mean, I've seen highlights and stuff, but I've not watched any collegiate basketball.
I don't watch a lot of basketball during the season.
Yeah.
I don't have the time. And so to sit down and watch it, usually I'm just like, it's usually late at night. I'm like, yeah, I'm good. I watch March Madness. I watch Championship Week, like whenever they do the SEC, ACC, all the big championships. I watch all those, like, because they're big games. So I like to see that. Once you get into like the quarterfinals, semifinals. So I watched a lot of basketball this weekend because I love watching all of they're just great basketball games. So as many of them as I can watch. If I'm home, I'm watching them. It's on TV nonstop. So yeah, I was hoping Oakland pulled it out, but I think I'm going to go with UConn. UConn just is a freight train right now. I think I'm going to go with UConn. I mean, I'm not saying I like them. I'm not saying I want them to be. I just feel like they're the best right now. So that's who I got. I don't necessarily want them to win. I just think that's who's going to win.
Yeah.
So
I like it.
Yeah. So let's shift gears really hard to NFL.
All right.
That's what people want to hear. People want to hear about the NFL right now. It's almost draft time. The NFL draft's getting ready to kick in. We got this new spring football league that's getting ready to start. So all this stuff is happening, right? I want to talk about the draft, and I'll tell you why. The draft is awesome. I love the event. A lot of people don't. They think it's a waste because they're like, what's the matter until they get on the field? There's truth to that. I think the combine, I think it's also a joke, but I love watching it, right?
Yeah.
I don't care what you can do without pads on. I don't care how far you can jump. I don't care anything about it. I want to know what you can do when you get the pads on, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Roll the tape. You don't need a combine. That's my opinion. I don't feel like any decision has been made in a combine that has changed the NFL. I think all decisions are made while they're on the field. That's my personal opinion. Not to throw John Ross out there, but I'm going to throw him out there. A couple years ago, Adidas sponsored whoever ran the fastest 40. It was John Ross. John Ross's draft stock went up. He ended up getting drafted, going to the Bengals. I don't think he plays for the Bengals anymore. I think he went to the Giants. He's okay, but they projected him to be this blazing fast receiver out of college, and he was, but he got hurt. John Ross, you're in the NFL. Congratulations. Nothing against him, but my point is, like a Jamarcus Russell years ago, the massive contract that never panned out. I just feel like a lot of these players, not that John Ross couldn't be great in the NFL, all right? Yeah. But I'm saying he got boosted because of his 40 time.
Okay.
All right? So I'm not saying if he didn't have that happen, he got drafted in the NFL, maybe you wouldn't even talk about him. He'd be like, man, he came in, he's a role player, he's done fine in the NFL.
Yeah.
But the fact that they boosted him, Adidas gave him a sponsorship, they put so much weight on these athletes at these combines to who's going to break through, right? That I just think it's interesting. So what I want to do is I want to let all of our listeners, I want to go over the 2017 NFL draft, the first 10 picks, just the first 10 picks, because I just think it's an interesting draft. So, and this is very consistent, but let's talk about how much they were talking about. Is Mitch Trubisky going to go first, or is it going to be Myles Garrett? Are we going to have, what's it going to look like? Because it wasn't a very quarterback-heavy draft.
Yeah.
So the first pick of the 2017 NFL draft, the Cleveland Browns selected defensive end Myles Garrett. It's a good pick. He's a good baller, right? With the second pick of that draft, the Chicago Bears selected Mitch Trubisky. Mitch Trubisky's been gone for years, right? Justin Fields is now there. This is 7 years later. Justin Fields is now gone. The Chicago Bears are going to draft Caleb Williams, I think, this year. Third, San Francisco 49ers selected Solomon Thomas, a defensive end from Stanford. Fourth, the Jacksonville Jaguars selected Leonard Fournette, a running back out of LSU. Fifth, the Titans drafted Corey Davis, a wide receiver for Western Michigan. Sixth, the Jets drafted Jamal Adams, a safety out of LSU. Seventh, the Chargers drafted Mike Williams, receiver, Clemson. These are good players. They're good guys. Hall of Famers? Maybe. Probably not.
I know this next name.
The Carolina Panthers selected Christian McCaffrey. It's another good pick.
Yeah.
It's a good pick. So they've been doing their homework. These guys went out and did their homework, right? Ninth, they selected John Ross. Well, there you go. Wide receiver for Washington, the Bengals selected John Ross. And went number 10. The Kansas City Chiefs selected this quarterback from Texas Tech named Patrick Mahomes.
There he is.
That's my point. You're telling me anybody in that draft would have picked him first?
Yeah.
So I just think this happens a lot, right? Who wouldn't have drafted Tom Brady, right? There's all these things, and I know you can't always get it right. I just think the draft, there's so much stock put on what these guys can do without pads on, that when you get pads on them, it's different. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's all I'm saying. I love the draft. I think it's great. I like watching it. I like seeing who we're going to pick. I mean, the Commanders got the second pick. I know who I hope we get, but, we got the second pick, and so we're just going to see what happens. You know what I'm saying?
You're not going to say who you hope? You're going to put it down? Forever etched in podcast history.
Who I hope we get
is
JJ McCarthy.
Okay. Gotcha.
I like him. I think he's got a good foundation. I think he's got there's a stable life around him. I feel like he's got support. I feel like he's got his head on straight. Not that I don't think the other quarterbacks don't. I'm just telling you why I like him.
Yeah.
I feel like he's NFL type of quarterback. It's not the other quarterbacks aren't good. I just think he's going to possibly be the best one that comes out. And I just like him. He won a national championship. He was composed. He played with other guys that are NFL caliber players. He can put a ball on a dot anywhere. He's a throw first quarterback, but he can run. I just like him.
Yeah.
As a Washington Commanders season ticket holder, I would love to see them take him.
Nice.
Do I think they will? I don't know. I don't know, but I hope they do. But in 2 years you may be like, well, good thing they didn't, or you may be like, man, that guy's a genius. We'll find out.
Yeah.
But that's why I hope they take. So it is what it is. And the NFL, they got these kickoff changes. So now they're different where they're doing kickoffs. And
I heard about this.
Basically, they're, where the guys are lined up. So there's no like high impact with 40-yard runs into each other.
Yeah.
And I saw a video last year. It was like the opening of the 1972 NFL season. And it was a video. Did you see that?
I didn't.
And they showed the video. It was like
imagine.
the promo video on NBC for the opening or ABC for the opening of the NFL season. And in that video, they said there was over 60 penalties that were current penalties.
You did show it to me.
People were armbarring each other. I mean, it was beautiful. But it's funny because now these roles are being done. I remember being on a kickoff team in high school. I was on the tier right before the very back tier. I was a sophomore, and I was playing on varsity. Or maybe I was a junior. And I remember I was small, and we were playing Kaiser, West Virginia. And these boys, they're big. And they were coming at us at about 110. And me and my buddy beside me, neither one of us, the ball was kind of squibbed, and neither one of us wanted anything to do with it. I was like, nah, bro. Like, I don't. And I returned punts and stuff, but this particular ball, that was in sophomore on JV. You got to varsity, I was like, nah, bro, I want nothing to do with that. So our deep guy picked it up, and the coach comes over to us and said, man, why don't one of y'all pick that up? And I was like, okay, I'll get it next time. And I was thinking, I don't want nothing to do with that.
Yeah.
Why these boys, these country boys out of the mountains running at me 20 miles an hour, weighing about 220, and I was 125 pounds. That's why I didn't want to do with it. And they're coming from 40 yards. And on kickoff return, you're just a target.
Yeah.
So I respect the rule change, is all I'm saying. Why get people hurt? Why get people hurt? But hey, baseball season's upon us.
Yes, it is.
And Braves, they start tomorrow at the Phillies. So I'm excited, man, because we got the MLB ticket. I would just have it on all the time, like baseball.
Oh, yeah.
Just have it on TV. Just pro ball. It's great to have.
My O's, baby. Let's go.
Power rankings.
I like it.
Orioles are number 4 in the power rankings preseason.
I like it.
Do you want to know who number 1 is?
Well, it's probably your Atlanta Braves.
You got that right.
Yeah.
Hey, something to think about. Growing up, I had a poster of Ricky Henderson for the A's.
Okay.
Standing up, holding the base above his head when he broke the all-time record.
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. But Ricky Henderson stole 130 bases in 1982. And last year was the year in the majors where they were talking about with the larger bases, they put out the like pizza boxes in the majors.
Yeah.
And they had restrictions on pickoff throws, like to speed the game up. 2023, it was a year where there was a lot more stolen bases than in the past. Do you know how the number 1 team with the most stolen bases was? Cincinnati Reds. Do you know how many they had as a team?
Which year?
Last year.
Last year? Well, that was because doesn't De La Cruz play for? Is that?
Yeah.
He play?
Yeah.
I
don't. Do you know how many they had? Take a guess.
I wouldn't even know. I would have zero clue.
190.
190.
Ricky Henderson.
Yeah.
In the year he broke the record, had 130 by himself.
Oh, that's stats like that. Ridiculous.
It's amazing.
That's
so,
crazy.
For all you out there, all you baseball lovers. So anyway, hey, you got a fun fact for us today, man?
Of course I do.
Let's go.
What
Fun
are you talking
fact
about?
time.
You know what? We're gonna go to nature today. I figure, you know what? We've had our fun for a little bit. Well, let's do something interesting. All right. And so let's do
no fun. Just go to nature. Right?
Well, it'll still be fun.
Okay.
But an interesting fact about nature. And so I do want people to know, because you might think that I like scour the internet for these things, and I probably will have to here soon. But these are actual things in my daily life that I read about.
Well,
okay?
and I would say this: if anybody knows Corey, his life flows random facts about things that nobody's asking questions to.
Yeah.
And when you find out what he's going to tell you, you're thinking, "Wow, that's information I actually need."
Well, maybe
it changes your life. Like I haven't thought of a fart the same since the last 2 weeks. I mean, just saying. I mean, we can't do a podcast now without that word. Apparently,
I know. Listen, but this is just daily reading within my life. I come across articles. I try to be an interesting guy. Okay, so I was reading this article about basically this phenomenon that happens in nature that is super, super rare. It's out in the ocean, and it has to do with orcas. All right, killer whales. So recently, I've seen some clips about killer whales like taking out great white sharks. Dude, you don't mess with killer whales, man. They're no joke.
Can't play
don't play with them. Anyway, so killer whales apparently they've been trying to like move up the food chain a little bit. And now
they're sick and tired of being the bullies.
Listen,
they're like, we're big. Why are we being bullied all the time?
They watched all the SeaWorld documentaries and they've had enough.
They are done with being somebody's pet. Dude, they're saying, why are we not feared? Why aren't people talking about killer whale sightings off the shore and they're talking about great white sharks?
Listen,
they're done.
They have killer in their name.
They've had enough.
Yeah.
They've had enough. And now we're going to pay for it.
Yep. So they're starting to go
I like where this is headed.
They're starting to go after sperm whales. Like in packs. So apparently there's this video that there's like 30 orcas surrounding this basically small pod. I don't know what you call a pod of sperm whales, but they're hunting in packs. There's 30 of them going after this group of sperm whales. Well, the sperm whales have adapted to this already. They've come up with a plan. All right. And so this is really, really cool. So basically, they get in a circle and their heads are all in the middle of this circle. All right, because they've got big, powerful tails. All right, they're big. We're talking about sperm whales.
Okay.
The killer whales are attacking the sperm whales. So these sperm whales get into a circle, and their heads are in the circle, and essentially they're just like batting their tails at these orcas that are trying to attack, and they're kind of like spinning in a circle, basically. And then on top of everything, what do you think they do?
I have no idea. I'm on the edge of my seat over here.
They defecate.
Hey, poo.
Listen.
How do we know it's come back to this? That's the story?
I'm sorry.
That's it?
Sorry. Listen. The scientific term for this is called defensive defecation.
I know people who've used this tactic, by the way.
Exactly. That's what I'm getting to. But the street term is called a poonado. So these sperm whales.
They invented the poonado.
Listen, I'll tell you, research shows as soon as the defensive defecation happens, the killer whales are gone. They dip.
So what you're telling me is, on all the joke and laughter, it works.
I'm trying to say, hey, defensive defecation, not a bad tactic.
You may not choose to do it. It just may happen out of fear.
Not a bad tactic.
Have you seen the videos of people in the streets? Like they get attacked by a gang and they just take all their clothes off?
I mean,
and then people are like, "Nah, bro,
you don't want to mess with that." Yeah.
If somebody is crazy enough to get butt naked and fight you, first of all, nobody wants that fight. I don't care if you know you can win that fight. You don't want that fight.
No.
Because you're one mistake away from regretting it the rest of your life.
That's a poonado right there.
Or just the sheer instance that you have to defend yourself hand-to-hand combat in close quarters with somebody who doesn't have clothes on.
Yeah.
That right there, if you're terrified for your life and you're in a street fight and you're outnumbered, just take your clothes off. Then hopefully, if the defecation works.
It works.
I'm guessing that's our strategy. Is that what you're telling people right now?
I'm trying to give people life advice. Wow. Okay.
Get friends that can spin a circle. Do it together, I guess.
I wanted to bat 3 for 3. I promise the next interesting fact
I'll tell you this. It's a disturbing fact,
hey,
but it's eerily true. That's the problem.
I'm telling you.
There are videos all over the internet of people who have been in street fights and they take all their clothes off and the fight is over.
Yeah.
And the minute it happens, and I know we're two different things here, but it's the same concept.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm bringing to the people is like, look, this is a tactic that we don't talk about.
You don't need combat classes. You just need to take clothes off and in the streets, and people don't want to do it with you. They're terrified. They're like, this guy's lost his mind.
Defensive defecation.
Yeah, I feel like both of these topics are things I would never do. But it's funny how true they are.
That's what I'm trying to do, man. I'm trying to hit home with the people.
Well, I think all the people get it.
Yeah.
I think all the listeners right now probably feel a level of security they didn't have.
Yeah, don't lie. It's a great tactic. Come on now.
It is a great tactic.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you the bigger part. Let me tell you the bigger part.
Okay.
It's what is it about people when you can't identify how odd they are that you're terrified of them?
Yes. No, legit.
That's a real thing.
It absolutely is a real thing.
Let me tell you a story. My father was a prison guard when I was a kid. He was a K-9 officer. And he talked about this guy in the prison that was the most feared inmate in the entire prison. He was a mobster. He was only like 5'3", probably 120 pounds. He said nobody messed with this dude. This guy was quiet. My dad said he was super odd, and everybody was terrified of him. And it wasn't just because like he could have your family killed on the outside.
Yeah.
It was that if you did anything to this guy, you would be killed.
Yeah.
Now, the thing about him, my dad said he was super odd. Like the dude was just odd. But did that oddity, is that the thing that people feared him, and so they would do whatever he wanted? Because maybe there wasn't nothing odd about him, but people didn't know how to read him, so this man ended up... Now, I'm not saying he wasn't a hardened criminal. He's in a state prison for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
But it's just, I mean, you think about it, man, it's the people you think, oh, they're just weirdos. Well, you just can't figure them out. Doesn't mean they're weirdos. It just means you can't figure them out. Like,
yep.
There's a reason the Bible says that when you're quiet in a room, people think of you as wise, and when you talk too much, they don't. Because there's something about being quiet people can't figure out.
Yeah.
And I mean, I know we went from defecation to butt naked fighting to being odd, but I'm saying there is something here. Sperm whales, there is a core of their defense that really is the core of every defense.
Hey man, when you
they can't figure out. If you're an orca, this is my thing, and the orca's like, oh, these guys are disgusting. We're a bunch of wingbats. We're out of here. Could they still beat them up, and then the orcas would just have poo all over them? Absolutely.
Ugh.
They could still take them out, but they're like, these guys are too weird. We're out of here.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
That's what happens.
I mean, they literally in the video they dip instantly. They're like, we're gone.
Yeah, because like y'all are weirdos. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, a bunch of weirdos. Like, well, I'm not doing this. You know what I'm saying? My dad had a guy in the prison, and I don't know how we got on this topic, but there's a guy, he called himself Bernie. He would light himself on fire.
Oh.
Yeah.
He
was demon possessed. My dad said this guy was legit demon possessed. He said when there was a full moon out, he'd howl. And like he saw this guy like manifest demonic things. Like my dad tells me these stories.
Yeah.
And he said this dude lit himself on fire one night and stood at the door of the cell. My dad walked by and he was like, "Need a light?" And they had to put him out. Yeah.
Crazy, dude.
I know.
That's
It's real
crazy.
things. Weird though.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I was weird. I mean, well, demonic is very weird. I know we got on a very...
Yeah.
But everything, hey, dude, everything is rooted in something bigger, man. It's just the reality of it. We can call it what we want, but we know the truth.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So, no, am I saying the orcas and the sperm whales and their defecation defense is rooted in spiritual things? No, I'm saying, but it ties deeper things.
It's
y'all
just,
understand?
it's the opening conversation.
It's a great conversation.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, let's go ahead and go to You Asked For It. I know you're ready. I can feel the
ready.
preparation.
I'm always ready now.
Don't blame me. You asked for it.
All right, you asked for it. So how fast, when you go to a restaurant we'll just say it's a different question if I ask you this if you're with your wife or your kids. So let's just say you and your wife.
Okay.
You plan for a nice evening out. You pick your restaurant. You're excited. Maybe you even already know what you're going to order. And you get to the restaurant. You get seated. You sit down. You get whatever you're going to drink. You order your food. You're having a good conversation with your wife. You're eating whatever's on the table. Maybe you order an appetizer or it's bread. At that point, how fast do you want your food at a restaurant?
Oh.
Now, we're going to say you're out on a date night. It could change if you're with your kids and you got somewhere to go. It could change if you're just with your kids. For me, it's like now, right? Give me the food. Let's get out of here. It's not like you don't sit around with 4 kids that are, 7, 9, 11, and 13 and just want to talk for an hour and a half. Like our kids will sit around and hang for a little bit, but when you're with your kids, it doesn't count. I'm talking about you and your wife. So how fast do you generally want that time?
I guess it depends on what restaurant I'm going to. Is this a place that I'm like, oh,
it's not a sandwich shop. We'll say that it's not like it's not like it's not like you're just going there because you need something to eat. You're on a date night. So it's not, we're not saying 5-star, they're taking the crumbs off with the little silver things. We're just saying a restaurant. Like, you're not going there on the way to the movie and so you got to get out in a certain time. We're just going to dinner with your wife as the date night.
Yeah.
So, and it's just a run of your mill, $25, $30 a person. That's run of the mill,
sure.
I think.
Yeah.
But like, I don't know. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
I think what I'm okay with is if it's a place, and I have like 2 that instantly jump to my mind. I'm sure there's way other places, but like you can go eat like, Mexican food or even like
you get their food.
I'll shout out Chili's
seconds.
and I'll also shout out like Outback. I think of those 3 places of like, hey, if I'm going Mexican or Chili's, you're getting that chips and salsa.
All
and
day.
you're just like, you know what? I'm good. I got my chips and salsa. I can wait for my food. Or Outback, I'm always getting a bloomin' onion. I have to. Like, so we got the bloomin'. It comes first. I'm okay to wait for my
Hey, I'm
food
just
at
gonna
that
say,
point.
I went to Outback last week. The bloomin' onion has shrunk
Dude, it's
tremendously.
I'm
It used to be like
well,
this.
I know that.
Now,
I get that.
I'm not even joking. They're
I
about
get
this
it.
big.
I know.
I
That's
was
the
like-
world.
I mean, don't get
man.
me wrong. It was more than enough, but it's just like, man,
That's the
the
world.
bloomin'
dude.
onion is more. It's more like a
Yeah.
small sprout. They should call it the small sprout.
The bloomin'
It was still
sprout.
delicious, but come on, man, y'all are killing me.
I know.
Like you order a bloomin' onion, you just call it a small sprout.
But
But the bloomin' onion is
but
good.
other restaurants where I wouldn't order an appetizer
Outback's cheese fries, come on.
or get bread or I'm like, yeah, I'm hungry. Let's go.
But I'm saying, so this is why I bring it up. I feel like, so once you eat your main course, and if you have dessert, whatever, as soon as you're done eating, there's like a 10-minute buffer at restaurant, maybe 15-minute buffer. You feel like we probably need to go because we're like people want to sit down. And I always think about the waiter or waitress, like their tips depend on how many people sit here.
Yes.
So if I sit longer, you just give them a bigger tip. Like I know a lot of people may be like, man, forget that. Like I'm sitting there, I'm a paid customer. But I always think about the waiter waitress. If it's busy, like you don't want to be there forever. So if I'm out with my wife, I appreciate the distance between ordering and then when the food comes out because of that.
Yeah.
So like if that's like your sweet spot. So like for me, because eating don't take forever. I'm not a fast eater, slow eater. Well, I'm probably a fast eater.
I'm
I
a
can
fast
probably
eater.
I'll have my dinner done in like 15 minutes or less. So like if you take out that time from, because I don't like eating stuff cold. You know what I mean? So if you take out that time from when you order to when you get your food, that time right there, I feel like when you're at a restaurant, if it's like a good 25 minutes, you're like, man, I'm waiting forever. But if you're not in a hurry, that's like the best time because then when you're done eating your food, you're kind of ready to go.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? You don't feel like you're rushing anybody. So this is for all those restaurants out there. If you got a lot of couples, man, give them that little buffer.
Hey.
If they're starving, like, where's our food coming out? Well, then maybe they weren't there for that reason.
Yeah.
But I feel like 25 minutes is a time where it's like 20 minutes. 20 minutes is a good time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I was just curious because I noticed the other night we were at a restaurant. And it wasn't a fancy restaurant. It wasn't an expensive restaurant, but like the amount of time it took them to get the food out, it wasn't delayed because they weren't good at what they did. It was almost like they planned it.
Yeah.
And I was like, man, they actually were very strategic in how they did this. And it wasn't like a super nice restaurant that you would expect it at. It was just a restaurant.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And everything was good and hot. And
yeah.
So I was just curious.
That's a good point too. Also, if you're out on a date, get off your phones. Talk to one another.
It's a great point.
Come on, man.
Yeah. I don't even take mine in the restaurant sometimes when I'm on a date. My wife takes hers because my kids, if they're home, like they'll call or text. But I always tell her, like, they'll be there.
Yeah.
But we take one phone in because of that. But so I have another question. This is switching gears a little bit. But I think I'm gonna ask a question I think so many people are asking. You listen to the radio and they'll be like, so and so with their new hit sold more albums, or so and so with their new hit, this song has sold more than so many copies. Where are people buying music today? I just want to know who are they selling it to? Why would you buy an album when you can pay for Apple Music or Spotify? Like, I don't understand how they're doing this. Like, I want to know who goes and buys albums. Like, how does that work?
I want to know how we calculate album.
I'm just curious.
It is weird because, everyone nowadays, they're going to have Apple or Spotify, or you're not really purchasing albums. So I would imagine.
You're a musician and you have albums.
Yeah.
How do you,
okay.
Can people buy your album?
So here's what they say. So one album sale equals 10 song downloads or 1,500 song streams. So that's how they calculate it nowadays.
1,500 song streams equals one album.
Well, I can tell you, listen, like money wise, yeah. As a person who uploads stuff to Spotify, that I would 1,500 streams of a song is gonna gonna give you probably the amount of money as if you sold an album. Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Or they buy 10 songs.
Who would do that?
I guess some people still buy
Why
stuff.
would you do that? I just don't understand.
With
all
if
the
you
streaming
pay
platforms, I guess if they're like, well, the streaming platform goes, I'm going to have this anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I could look at like my stats. I mean, they're not amazing.
If you look at what you pay per year and you're like, man, I could buy, how much albums cost anymore?
I mean, usually a song is 99 cents.
Okay, that's what I thought. So an
So,
album, like it's still
like
the same
$10.
price it was. That's the thing that's interesting about music.
Yeah.
Like in the '90s, we were buying albums for $10 or $15.
Mhm.
We're still buying albums for $10 or $15.
Still the same, yeah.
That's the interesting part about music. I think the streaming service has done that.
Well, yeah. When you think about the streaming services, you're paying like what, $10 a month. I mean, you've got everybody's album, so
That's
it's
what I'm
like,
saying.
really, why
Yeah.
wouldn't you?
It's true. Well, hey, let's talk about a couple of things in the news. For those of you that are going to buy some albums, let us know how that works for you, man. Let us know how it goes. Those of you musicians that are listening, let us know how that works for you as a musician. Like, is it something you like? Is it something you don't like? Is it something that pays dividends? I know that there's been a lot of fight over the streaming and albums, and I get it, but I'm just curious. So Francis Scott Key Bridge in Baltimore fell. Obviously, man, we're from those areas, so those are personal. It should be personal to everybody because it's tragic. I mean, people have died. Workers that were working on the bridge filling potholes. Like, it's amazing when you watch this bridge go down in Baltimore when it was hit by this freight carrier. It's amazing how fast it crumbled.
Yeah,
it was like nothing. It was like nothing exists. Like, there's workers on that bridge fixing potholes, and when the bridge was hit, it was like toothpicks.
Yeah.
It was amazing to me how much that bridge crumbled.
Yep.
I
had the same thought.
It was just unbelievable. They say that they would be on 30 minutes into a 27-day tour to Sri Lanka, and they hit the bridge. I guess they were coming out of the harbor or something, or wherever they were at.
Well, they lost power, didn't they?
And they were given Mayday signals to get everybody off the bridge, but they never got the signal in time. So these workers went into the water, and it was like a 50-degree water. But even on the way down, the one worker that made it broke his leg before he got into the water. Because you think about all the metal, the iron, the steel, and the debris. And so they were looking for bodies yesterday, but they had to call it because the water was so muddy. And they said underneath of the bridge, there's tons of steel in the water that has just fallen over the years that they've had to repair. It's just pieces of steel underground and in the water. And so, I mean, you think about all those people that have hit the ground and dying. Or hit the water. My thought was, if you just hit the water and had hypothermia, that's one thing. There should have been enough around to grab onto. Like, they had to be hit by unfortunately, you're thinking, what happened to them?
Yeah.
Not that the water couldn't do that, but you think, what happened to them before they hit the water? The bridge was it just to crush them? Was it just?
I mean, it was a pretty high bridge though, too. I mean, you're talking. I mean, anything over 30 feet, you're hitting max velocity.
And not to be morbid, it just that thought of like you're working on the road, it collapses, the bridge collapses on top of you. I guess it's the same as if it was on land. Like, that stuff's coming down on top of you. There's not really a chance.
And hitting water that high is, I mean, if you don't go in the right way, it's like hitting a brick wall. You're not. I mean, that's why people jump off of bridges.
I wonder how old that bridge was.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was just one of those things, man.
Yeah, it was crazy.
Really crazy. Say that you heard it here first. I'm not proud to declare this, but say you heard it here first. Ozempic fatal outcomes are bringing about concerns.
Yeah.
We said it here first. We said it, man. These things are going to kill people. And I don't know what it's going to take for us to stop using stuff that is quick fixes for how we eat and exercise. Like, what is it going to take for us as humanity to stop using supplements that help us lose weight? Like, the key is in, and I'm not trying to be some ignorant, like, off the chart, but the key is in diet and exercise, right? What you eat and how active you are has been consistent. They're scientific, they work, they're 100% accurate.
Yeah.
What you eat and exercise. And so we start taking these shots to lower numbers. Of course it's going to work because you're not eating.
Yeah.
It's like, it's not the shot that's the miracle. It's like, it's actually, you're not eating. And so now there's these fatal outcomes. Like, I know people who've taken these shots that have gotten sick. So I don't understand. Like, I think when they're being prescribed as something that is supposed to help certain levels in your body, it's a diet shot that makes you not hungry. That's what it's doing.
Yeah.
And so when it says it's going to help lower these things, well, of course you are, because you're not eating. And so you feel like we're putting Band-Aids on surgical wounds, that we've got to change things in America, like the amount of crap that we eat, the amount of processed stuff, even the meats that we're buying, like how much of this stuff is pumped with steroids or whatever. Like, you just think there's a bigger issue. And I'm not trying to, this isn't my soapbox for the day. I'm just saying these fatal outcomes bring about concerns. It's like, well, it's always something. Like, we're always jumping from one quick fix to the other. And you just kind of hope that, I hate it because I know everybody out there, you want a better life. You got to choose your hard. Do you want to be overweight or do you want to work out hard? You got to choose your hard. Do you want to be overweight or do you want to have a good diet? Like, choose your hard. One of them is going to be hard. Either walking around with a lot of weight is going to be hard, or being disciplined is going to be hard.
Well,
you know?
Again,
and I understand some people have medical issues. I get all this.
Yeah.
But this stuff is obviously not the answer.
But taking a medication, I mean, you can look it up. It's right here. It's for people with type 2 diabetes. Like, that's what it was designed for.
But do you know how it lowers that?
Well, it helps
lowers your
lower
A1C.
It helps lower blood sugar.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
And
how does it lower blood sugar?
But it helps the pancreas make more insulin.
Yeah.
Basically. And
then it curbs your appetite.
A side effect of that is you don't. But like, my thing is, like, you're putting, like, for me, I'm like, well, I don't have type 2 diabetes, so therefore my body doesn't need this. It's not like this miracle thing. I'm giving something my body doesn't technically need.
I love modern medicine.
Yeah,
I'll say this.
For sure.
I'm so grateful. People that don't like modern medicine, I'll say, okay, well, when you have a heart attack and they're about to saw your heart open, tell them you don't believe in modern medicine, so you want to do it without any painkillers. Like, give me a break.
Yeah.
Like, modern medicine's amazing. It's kept a lot of people alive. It sees danger before we get there. Like, there's so many great things about modern medicine. We can all agree with that.
Yeah.
But I know people who have taken this for that and has messed them up, right? And I know they've lost weight and all this. Like, I get all that. It's worked. But at what cost?
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what I'm saying? I love modern medicines. I'm just saying, whenever something is this broad and it's like starting to kill people, you just got to think, man, like, who's responsible?
Yeah.
Right? I always say everybody needs to go watch Dope Sick off of Hulu.
Yeah.
They need to watch that special, because any of us growing up in early 2000s, late 90s, the entire Oxycontin, that whole thing, it just took over. And it's just one of those things where it's like, I don't think we need to be scared of big pharma. I don't think we need to be scared of hospitals. I don't think we need to be scared of doctors. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, cancer in America is on the rise. Like, there's just so many things that are, and everywhere, really. I mean, we heard, Kate Middleton with her diagnosis. Like, it's so sad. I mean, she's a young mom, and the Royals, they're probably eating stuff nobody else gets. They're probably eating a diet that a lot of us. It's just a really crappy part of our life, that people have to deal with. And my heart breaks for her, because she's a mom and she's a wife, and there's just a lot,
Mm-hmm.
It breaks for her, just her whole family. But anyway, I hate that these are things that we're talking about whenever. I mean, it's just what it is. It's just one of those things where we talked about a couple weeks ago, and then all of a sudden here it comes. You kind of could feel it coming.
Yeah.
But on that note, for those of you who like to eat stuff that you shouldn't, Krispy Kremes are coming to McDonald's.
That actually was a good segue.
It wasn't even in order, according to how I actually wrote it.
Polar opposite.
Yeah, I mean, Krispy Kreme. Now listen to this. You can get it in original, glazed, chocolate iced with sprinkles, or chocolate iced cream filled.
Ooh.
All at McDonald's. Coming soon. Krispy Kreme.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty... I was pretty
soon we'll all need Ozempic.
Yeah. So what you can do is ask them for a shot when you get your...
For its originally intended purpose.
Well, listen, anybody out there who has a kid and a kid in middle school or high school, how many of y'all are willing to raise your hand and say, middle school was the toughest time of my life?
Well, it's so awkward.
It's so awkward. Your teeth are bigger than your face. You half the kids have like one little hair under their arms. The other are hoping for it. I got a 13-year-old and I got an 11-year-old and a 9 and a 7-year-old. And so my 13-year-old is the first one out to shoot. He's in 7th grade.
Yeah.
And Caden's advantage is that he's a really good looking kid. Me, I had like this, it was like a mustache that wasn't. And nobody told me. And I had like this unibrow and this mustache. Not the unibrow's a bad thing, but for me, it wasn't a good look. And I had this mustache. I was in 7th, 8th grade, and I was like, why did nobody tell me that I had this mustache that wasn't a mustache? Like, come on, man. And I'm not dogging you that it might have that. Yeah. But
or somebody did, and you just,
yeah, maybe just
ignored
like, no,
it.
That's my stash.
Yeah, that's cool, man. What are you talking about?
Dog. I got my shadow right here, dog.
5 o'clock somewhere.
Exactly. But this is my thing. So for those of you all know middle school was the toughest time of our lives. High school, it just gets better because you get older and you start driving. You kind of feel like you're an adult when you're not. You think you know everything when you know nothing. But in middle school, those tough years, you can't even take a little girlfriend out on a date without having mom and dad drop you off. Like, they're just different times, right? So one thing I have noticed, and this is across the board, like I coach 13-year-olds, know, and I've coached them since they were younger, is that everybody is trying to find their place when you get to that place. And you don't realize how awkward and different it was until you start like you're like, man, it's just that those are tough years. I think Rylan, my second, I think he's going to cruise through it. That kid is everywhere he smiles everywhere he goes. Everybody loves him. He's a sweet kid. He don't really get wrapped up in a lot.
Yeah.
But he's on his phone like he's 11. And yes, he has a phone, and it's got restrictions. But this cat is the most social kid you ever meet. Like he's talking to his friends, FaceTime. Like he just loves people.
Yeah.
He loves people. I don't know that he will experience middle school. I think he'll just experience life. Like I don't know if Rylan has ever had anybody dog him. You know, he just does that. Not that type of kid.
Yeah.
Caden invites it a little bit. He's hardcore. He's a lot like me. He can be a little mouthy. He invites it. But what I can tell you is the stuff he's had to go through at school or this or that, like it's stuff we all go through. But recently I read this article about a mother in Texas who made a special drink for her son's bully.
Oof.
And her son took the drink to school and the bully drank it and hospitalized him.
Oh boy.
So yeah, the mother obviously got arrested.
Sure.
But I'm thinking, come on. Like all of us have felt that way.
Yeah.
There is not any of us who have ever been like, man, I'd like to knock that kid out.
Yeah.
Because it's your kid, right? But then you realize it's a kid. I'm not going to knock him out.
Yeah.
Then where's his dad? I'll knock him out, right?
Or have him drink poison. Yeah.
Let me tell you this. There's been kids that I've known have been bullies from other kids, or I've seen it with my own eyes. Every kid, and I mark the word every, so mom and dads listen to me. Every kid that is a bully has already been bullied.
Yeah.
And it's usually by their parent.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you the amount of kids that are punks, that are bullies, that I see either their grandparents or parents that treat them like they treat others.
Yeah.
I have seen dads that their kids are just class A jerks and they're young. And I'm like, well, how's this kid such a jerk at such a young age? Then you see the way his dad treats him during baseball.
Yeah.
And you're like, oh, that's why. His dad's a jerk. Like, if you can't treat a kid like that and expect a kid not to treat others like that.
Yeah.
You feel me? And so I can promise you if there's a kid that acts like that, there's a parent somewhere that acts like that. Or there's a lack of discipline somewhere, because it's amazing to me. And I see this a lot in the sports world, right? But the kids that are bullies, their parents, they act like that. Like my kids, sure, my kids have been bullies. My kids say things they shouldn't say. My kids can be punks. My kids can do this or that. But like I have seen like my kids bully each other.
Mm-hmm.
And I've seen hints of it at times, but I'm like, it's the one thing I have zero tolerance for.
Yeah.
Like you will never treat anybody like that.
Yep.
But it's amazing to me. Like the Caden is trying out for middle school ball this week, and they had a thing on the tryout thing. It says, do not line up at the fence to watch your kid. Do not go anywhere you can watch them, or else your kid will be asked to leave and they will be cut immediately.
Wow.
That shows you how bad the travel ball, or how bad the parent world has gotten.
Yeah.
You're not even supposed to go. And I'm like, I'm fine with it. Like,
Yeah.
you know, I coach my son all the time. Like, I like him. Go out. I'll pick you up when it's over. You can let me know how it went.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, their school, I think, has, I don't know, last year's 120. They have over 100 kids try out for a middle school team.
Yeah.
Like, their baseball is huge. And I mean, a lot of middle schools are like that. But I'm like, I get it. Like, as a coach, I'm like, I totally get it. I'm glad the dude said that. Like, yeah, man, y'all stay to yourselves. If you don't like that, then take your kid and go home.
Yeah.
But what happens is I have seen the opposites. I have seen kids they're really good athletes, act so kind of unsure and like a little bit insecure. And I've watched their parents get kicked out of games.
Mm.
And I say parents kicked out as in like the umpire will stop the game, point to the bleachers and tell parents they got to leave or the game's over.
Yeah.
I have watched on the flip side, kids that are bullying kids on the baseball field, or they're bullies in school and it's notorious. And then I've seen the way their parents talk to them during the game. And so you see these two ends of it. But hey, mom and dads, let's not make a special brew for kids to drink.
Yeah.
It's like, come on, man.
Yeah. That's also, yeah.
I don't know what pushed this woman to that point. I'm not saying she has no reason and no right to ever do that. But I can tell you as a parent, to sit there and make something, that's way out there, right? To stir up a brew for another kid, that's like, come on, man. That's like attempted murder stuff right there.
Absolutely.
But my thing is, as parents, man, I get it. The world we live in, I think we were all bullied more than we let on, because when we grew up, it was like, yeah, there's bullies, just deal with them. Now, these kids, it's like, well, there's bullies, there's mental disorders, there's all kinds of stuff, you fill in the blank. And honestly, the things that you think kids would make fun of, they're not making fun of. They're not making fun of all the issues adults have with what kids are doing.
Yeah.
They make fun of kids that are legit. We talked about this probably last year on the podcast about a kid who was overweight, and he was a 14U kid for baseball, the best hitter and pitcher in the area, and he got brand new Air Maxes, cost like $150. They made fun of him all day. He threw them in his closet, never wore them again. Ended up taking his life.
Yeah,
we talked about this last year. This just gets old. You know, it's evil. This is the thing people don't understand is like, Well, I always said it, and I'll say it this: we have a Good Friday service this Friday. It's online, 12 o'clock.
Yep.
Y'all jump in and join that. But evil is the absence of God.
Yeah.
It's the absence of good. And it's not that God created it, it's that when he's not there. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that we don't realize how much crap kids go through. And that's why they turn into what they are.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean?
Well, yeah, I think like even keeping it in like kind of sports world, you see kids that, you know, I think you even have to like check yourself as a parent sometimes too, of like the extra pressure that you put on your child, you know, within athletics or really anything, and just like constantly reminding yourself. And I tell, you know, I coach 12U. I tell them consistently, I'm like, hey, remember, you're 11 and 12. Like, take the pressure off a little bit. You guys have enough pressure that you deal with. Like, take the pressure off. Let's do things with excellence. You know, it's literally a core value of Palms. Excellence is a standard. Let's be excellent. Let's work hard. But you're 11 and 12. Okay. Like, take the pressure off a little bit. And I think I have to remind myself that too, of like, you know, I can get out there like, oh, do that. You know, you need to be doing that. And it's like, no, take a breath, work on things, you know, but recognize sometimes that, you know, a kid, an 11-year-old, yeah, dude, we live in a different world, man. Like, yeah, we've all been bullied. We've all been there, but it's also like, I think taking a step back and just realizing like, hey, kids, especially heading into middle school, they have enough pressure on themselves too, that it's like, I feel like what I'm trying to do, and the other coach I'm with, is just to try and create an atmosphere. It's like, hey, we're going to work hard, but at the same time too, we're not going to stress out. There's no need in, you know, rec sports, what we play right now. Like,
well, even in travel, I think everybody makes it a bigger deal, but the reality is like character is character.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I told Caden this morning, we were on the way, I had taken him to school because he has a baseball bag and stuff. I said, hey, no man can tell you no for what God has.
Yeah.
Whether that's baseball or life. Like, if God has something for you, no man can stop that.
Mm-hmm.
I said, there will be people who promote you that God uses, but nobody can be the one that stands in the way of what God has.
Yeah.
And he just listened, and I told him, I said, listen, man, I know you want to make this team. I said, but this is what you got to realize. Like, you believe God has something for you in this game, then you'll play at another level. Maybe it'll be college, who knows?
Yeah.
But if you believe, then nothing can stop you.
Yeah.
I said, but you got to put in the work and do your thing, but lock into what God has. I said, because this is the thing. In the next 10 years, all the kids that come through that school, there may be less than 5 that get a shot to play at the bigs, or even in the minors, or even at a big D1 school. And I said, and if you were to be one of those 5, imagine the minority that you are in. Nobody else can understand it. I said, you know what that consists of? Not just a great baseball player. It consists of somebody who has character, somebody who works hard in school, somebody that is committed and can be counted on, somebody that's responsible. I said, there's so many other attributes that go along with guys who make it, because there's more to a person than how good they are at a sport.
Yeah.
And so I just told him, I said, man, do you? I said, don't let people, the biggest thing I fight with my kids is that they're constantly, they want to be accepted like everybody else, but I always tell them, don't let what people aren't keep you from what you are.
Yeah.
They're not going to understand it when you get there. So do you. Like, do not let people keep you down, is what I tell them. Don't let them keep you away from what God actually has for you. Don't let them keep you back from what God actually has for you. And that's my biggest thing for my boys is like, sure, I would love Caden to make it because I know it means a lot to him. And it means a lot. It'd be cool. But I told him, like, when you get to high school and you play ball, you're going to just outlast a lot of people. A lot of people just stop playing because they get sick of it. They realize that they get passed and surpassed and they're not the star anymore. Like, it just happens. I mean, I played all the way through high school baseball, and I went to a brand new school in the middle of my junior year, right outside of D.C. Intense competition. You know, we were a very competitive team the year before we won districts. And I made the team. And I made the team because I could hit. I made the team because I could. That was like one of the big things for me. And I look back, and it was honestly something in my life where I realized I wanted to play college football. I love baseball, and I had offers, but football was my thing. That was my dream, to play college football. And looking back, there was nothing that was going to keep me from that, because I knew like God stirred my heart for that. And I think when you look back at things like that, it's amazing how much it encourages you in your life to be like, well, I achieved something. Looking back, it was hard to achieve. Like scholarships aren't as plentiful as people think.
Yeah.
And to be given any type of money to play a sport is like, well, you're compensated to play a sport. Like, I'll take it. You know what I mean? And so I just think for all of us, just put it in perspective. And I know we started at bullying and we've kind of gone off this little rabbit trail, but I think I just tell my kids like, hey man, it's the same with bullies. Like, know who you are, know what you do. And I said, love them through it, man. And he had a kid who was kind of being a smart aleck to him. Well, this kid kind of punks him. And he said, hey, man, if you ever need anything, I got you. And he said the kid totally changed.
Yeah.
I said, yeah, because what they do, I said, the Bible talks about the kindness of the Lord leads people to repentance. Like, love them. I don't care if they keep teasing you. Just you take the high road.
Yep.
Because I said that's what will gain you respect. And so moms and dads, tell your kids to take the high road. Don't make a special potion for the bullies. That'd be my word on it. Yeah. So, hey, final thought.
Here's my final thought.
Hey, anybody want to know how to live past 100?
Well, you know what?
I'm not
Let's
sure.
Stop there for a second.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know if I do either, but I'm going to tell you how.
I'm 37 and my knee already hurts.
Yeah,
so.
well, I'm going to tell you how. To live past 100, the number one way is genetics, all right?
Sure,
it's proven. Genetics.
sure,
You got to
yeah.
have good genetics. If you don't have
Yeah.
good genetics, just pack it in and enjoy the years you got, right?
I'm
You gotta-
6'7". I'm not making it that long.
Yeah.
So
Another one is good habits. This is scientifically proven. Good habits. Short amount of exercises.
Yep.
They say social activities such as going to church. Absolutely.
Hey, there you go.
They say modest caffeine and alcohol intake. Now that doesn't mean you need to drink caffeine and alcohol to live long. It's saying modest. So if you drink caffeine or alcohol, it's saying don't drink a lot of it. It's saying modest. You know.
Gotcha.
Some people are like, oh, I knew the
Coffee,
whiskey was good.
not
Yeah.
alcohol, by the way. So-
But it's been proven that people over 80 whose cognitive abilities are on par with those 20 to 30 years younger reported having warm, trusting, high quality relationships. And optimism and outlook was also consistent. Were also consistent factors. Can I say one thing about this?
Yeah.
I think the reason that people over 80 whose cognitive abilities were on par with those 20 and 30 years younger, and it says reported having more warm, trusting, high quality relationships is because of stress. I think that when you have those relationships, you're not stressed out of your mind. And I would say this. I think not having a stressful relationship or having one of those relationships is better than having a stressful relationship.
Sure. Yeah. Absolutely.
You know, so I think people get that wrong. Like, well, I just need somebody. It's like, if it's a stressful relationship that's not healthy, it's actually not healthy
Yeah.
than to have no relationship. But this is actually saying if you can find warm, high quality, trusting
Sure.
relationships.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that I want to sit on for today is like, what's so funny, man?
I'm sorry. My brain literally goes, warm, trusting, willing to let them rip near you. Sorry. It's just
Well, you need to find a new wife. If that's the case. That's not consistent with your marriage.
I just derailed your like warm emotional.
You knew y'all knew we were coming back to this. We've been in this rivet for a couple of weeks now. We're just spiraling.
Hey, shout out to Paula. Paula said she listened to last week's podcast. She said, I'm just going to now start calling it aromatherapy.
Hey, Paula is our community director up at our Oakland campus. She's rocking it. This weekend, Oakland launches. Oakland, Maryland, we coming for you. We love you. So grateful to be a part of the community that's already up there. Right here in Virginia Beach. We'll be here 9:30 on Easter Sunday. As always, online, anywhere, anytime. We are with you guys. Hey, this podcast, like it, subscribe to it. Give us comments. Let us know what we can do better, what you want to see us do. Don't write that, actually, because I don't want to do anything y'all want me to do. Yeah. But if you have any questions, as always, you can sign up or send us in for the You Asked For It. We love you. So grateful for you. Let me pray for you. Lord, I pray for each and every listener. I pray they know you see them, you love them, your hand is on them. God, we thank you sent Jesus, and we look forward to celebrating your resurrection in Jesus' name. Amen. Hey, Good Friday service, 12 o'clock online, Sunday, 9:30. We'll see y'all. Love you.